got a lot on my mind, a lot on my chest. That's why.
There we go. What's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones with Midnight Comics, and your host of the Indie Breakdown, the show we break down your favorite indie comic book characters' power, stats, and abilities, and get them ready for an indie versus matchup. So, this week, or this video live, what have you, this one is going to be for the Reckoning match of the week. So, very similar to what we did with the Nexus matchup, but obviously, again, it's going to be the Reckoning side of things. What is the difference between the two? Let's talk about that first as we get ready to dive in. We'll do this for the next couple lives, but by that point, you guys should know what's up with all that. So, essentially, Nexus is for the characters that are a part of the database that do not have a book published yet, right? While Reckoning are characters that have published books that we can go through and verify the feats and all that fun stuff. So, this week, what we did is, or really recap in regards to the Nexus matchup earlier this week, we had Incendiary versus several characters: Solar the Sovereign, Aegis, and oh goodness, and Forecast. There we go. That was the matchup this week. They did fail that matchup. Incendiary did succeed in his mission. He destroyed all of Underground Atlanta, unfortunately. So womp womp womp. Right. So anyway, with that, this week we have something kind of similar, another event kind of situation where we are witnessing Hopebreaker and Marvelous versus the Elites. So we're going to do something very similar as we did last week, and I keep saying last week is all still the same week. You're welcome. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the power stats and abilities of each side, and then we're going to dive into the matchup proper, utilizing only what was stated and what's available on the stat cards, and then we'll talk about the specific plan that the Elites have. What we do with this, and welcome everybody that's watching, a little bit about what we do and what we're trying to gear up towards with this, right? What I do is I ask the villain, whoever's going to be playing the villain that week, to drop what their plan is going to be based on the information I provide, right? So it's going to take place in Icarus Metro City. Your team ended up there, or your villain ended up there. What would they do when they reach this new city? And they lay out to me the entire plan of what their villain would do, what the plan is, the mindset, what they're coming in with, right? And then when we have our day when we announce the matchup, which Wednesdays are Nexus, Saturdays are the days where we announce the Reckoning matches. We ask the creators of the hero characters, right, or the opposition, if you would, to lay out how are they going to attack, how are they going to infiltrate, how are they going to neutralize the threat, and hopefully, of course, win that indie versus matchup. What's the purpose of this? Usually, we do the little match, 1v1s, keep it pushing. We are trying to do events in this group. And so what we're gearing you up for is those events with our partners over at Dyson Dopeness, who's going to be way more in depth with the elements of various stories that he's writing. So if we can get past these smaller things, get you guys asking the right questions when it comes to these smaller matchups, then you guys will be better prepared for the events coming soon from our friends over at Dyson Dopeness. So with that being said, we're going to get started talking about, again, today's, or rather yesterday's, Reckoning matchup and talk about who I think would win or succeed or what have you. So, once more, for anybody that's joining in, welcome. We are specifically talking about, and I'm going to share my screen here in a moment. We are specifically talking about the Hopebreaker and Marvelous versus the Elites. So, let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to do the entire screen. Boom. There we go. And 3, 2, 1. Show on stream. Yes. So, here are the stipulations. Here's what happened on this matchup. I'm going to start from the top. Hopebreaker by Spiff Nation, big shout out to you, and Marvelous by Molly Simpson versus the Elites by Tariq Holmes. So again, everybody has their respective stories. We got the Elite Warriors with Marvelous and Molly Simpson. Spiff Nation story is called Hopebreaker, and then the Elites are from the story Atlas, again by TDJ Art. So definitely check all of them out respectively. They're in the group. Reach out to them. Thank you guys for participating in this. Thank you guys for being a part of the database. And let's get ready to dive into the scenario proper. And let me go ahead and get the chat up so I can see what everybody's saying. The ops. What's going on, Specs? And then Ralph, what's going on, man? Yeah, so we're here for another week. You asked what's next in that post about the verdict from last week. Well, this is specifically what is next. 2 seconds. All right, so here is the mission. And again, we're going to go through the comments and we're going to read through what they said, how they're going to attack the situation. And again, we're going to move from there and talk about what the villain, what Tariq's characters actually did or planned to do, and see if they were able, or anything that they are going to attempt to do would be able to stop it. Because usually, in most cases, we don't have full intel, or the heroes don't usually have full intel on what the villains are going to be doing. So you guys have to act accordingly. You guys have to try to figure out what the best course of action is going to be with a lack of intel. So,
did you see what I did with my back?
you left it in the car, I think. All right, so here we go. So, the elites consist of the following characters, and then we're going to go over each of these characters. So that's Devonna Casilla, I think I'm saying that right, Jeremiah Moore, Josiah Wright, Derek Ellis, Detono, and Magnitude. We have asked our heroes to proceed with extreme caution, but this group moves as a unit and wouldn't have made themselves known unless they wanted to be seen. So, their objective: infiltrate Icarus Metro City, because that's the location, just a reminder, investigate what's going on within the city, and neutralize the elites. Once more, the location is Icarus Metro City. The risk: there's high population civilians everywhere. Now, if you guys don't know anything about Icarus Metro City, which is by, well, Icarus Metro Comics, in Calvin Chambers over there, definitely you guys should have checked that out. But there's an interview with him on our website as well, on indiebreakdown.com, to get to know more about the Paladins and everything that they do in there. But it is a very futuristic city that takes place in a pseudo kind of Philly, New Jersey area. What's going on, Tavis? It takes place in this kind of pseudo New Jersey, Philly area, but it looks like the technology is like that of 20, if in the year 2100, but it's really 2025 there, right? So very, very high tech place. And if you guys again have read the story, there's a group called the Paladins, where they are they're a group of paranormals. The powered people in their universe are called paranormals, and there are a lot of paranormals in Icarus Metro City. So there are a lot of superpowered people, and in that city, the people with their powers are very, very reckless, right? So there are superpowered people, and there's only like one or two safe havens in this city. So be prepared. So there are still civilians, but there's also superpowered people that are in there, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, we're going to head back over to the website, to the database, which we have updated the power stat sheet to read appropriately here. And I do want to also add really quick, we made some slight changes to the agility. It's still going to match up just fine with the original sheet that Tavis initially created. But the agility now states, well, you guys we'll go over that. You guys can also read it on your own time here. Let's just get to breaking down the characters and stuff here, if you would. So we have, first up, we're going to go over to our guy, Hopebreaker, and bear with me. And then welcome again, everybody. Did I pass by him? I'm bugging. Okay, there we go. All right. So once more, we're going to look at the stats and stuff like that and re-explain that. And again, we'll do that a couple more times during these lives, so that you guys have an idea of what it is. For all of you that have been here already, it's the same sheet that Tavis did. Same stats and stuff are on there, just redesigned. It's still based off of Tavis's sheet. So if you know the strength, you know the intelligence, you know the speed, durability, agility, fighting ability, and energy projection, all that stuff is still very much the same. Now, what I do want to explain really quick, what are these dots here, right? That is the tier, right? So again, trying to make it a little bit more concise. And again, all of this is on the website for you guys to check out, right? So in this case, Hopebreaker is under the, he is under urban level. He is level 8. So the corresponding color is this kind of greenish color, right? Now, there's 2 dots there. So that means he is, I forgot the number just that quick. I apologize, y'all. So the number is 8. So he is an 8B. So if you look at the sheet, it's 8B. Okay. Just again, once more, kind of sort of explaining it so that you guys are ready. So with him being an 8B, okay, that means that he can cause a city block, level destruction, or city block levels of destruction. That's his raw output, right? So let's talk about each one of the stats there, starting with strength, top left right there. His strength is at a 4, which means that he can lift 800 pounds to 25 tons. His intelligence, oh goodness. There we go. His intelligence, I accidentally scrolled back to the other thing. His intelligence is sitting at a 3, which makes him learn. So not a genius level intellect or anything of that nature, but again, learn. So he's no slouch. He's not dumb or anything like that. He's got this. His speed sits at a 4, which allows him to move at the speed of sound, so Mach 1. Next up, we have durability. So his durability sits nicely at a 4, so that means he's regenerative and difficult to permanently injure. Next up, we have agility. And again, slight differences on the agility, but still in regards to the verbiage of the agility anyway. So he sits as an 8. So he is reality breaking and can exist in multiple places at once and move when time is frozen. So he's up there. He is maxed out in regards to agility. Next up, we have fighting ability. His fighting ability, energy projection. His energy projection sits at a 5, which means he can. Oh my god, I keep scrolling instead of actually zooming in. His energy projection once more is at a 5, so he's got long range and duration, right? So with a single energy. So again, long range would be like a Kamehameha wave and go kind of a far distance, right? His ability can, and it's only a single form of energy, okay? So not multiple forms and stuff like that. So say conversation such a brought up Kamehameha, key. They have key. Most of them do not have magic, right? It's a key ability. That's the one thing he knows how to do, and how he utilizes that form of energy is what kind of makes it unique. Next, and lastly but not least, we are on fighting ability. He sits at a 6, making him a master of several forms of combat. Okay, and again, if I'm talking too fast or what have you, visit Midnight Comics. Visit IndieBreakdown.com and go ahead and go to the database and check this stuff out for yourself. We're talking Hopebreaker, we're talking Marvelous before we jump into the group known as the Elites. So I could have just hit the back button, but I sure as heck didn't. Going back down to Reckoning, because that's where we're working with today. Next up, we're going to talk about Marvelous himself. So he's slightly weaker in regards to raw output and compared to Hopebreaker, because Hopebreaker is a tier 8. We have Marvelous at a tier 9, which is superhuman, so it's not bad. Again, looking at that color, slightly different, kind of a lighter green. That one was more of a teal or what have you color over there. But this is where he sits at. But he is a superhuman, or rather 9A. So let's talk about that. What is a 9A in regards to the tier sheet? So 9A, oh my God, Lloyd. So 9A, that is the wrong color. That's supposed to be a purple color. But regardless, I'll fix that. Working out all the kinks. But he would technically sit at the ability to destroy a large room or apartment. What's going on, Spiff? We just finished talking about Hopebreaker really quick, talking about the powers and abilities, talking about the tier. And I foolishly did not go over the powers. We're going to go back to that in a second. So I'm going to finish up with Marvelous, then go back to Hopebreaker and go through the line of powers. We did talk about all the stats, and then again, we'll do that in a second. So Marvelous sits at a strength of 7. He can lift 100 plus tons. Okay. Next up, his intelligence. He's a 6, so he's a super genius. Okay. Then we have speed. His speed sits at a 4, just like Hopebreaker. So he's able to move at Mach 1, aka the speed of sound. Next up, we have durability. His durability sits at a 5, which puts him at bulletproof. So he's dense skin and can repel most weapons. And then we have 7 for agility, which puts him at relativistic. So he can react to and move near the speed of light. Last two, in regards to his energy projection, he's that is crazy, virtually unlimited command of all forms of energy. Okay, I can dig it. And then same thing with the fighting ability. He's a master of all forms of combat. So definitely a force to be reckoned with. So Marvelous's powers, he's got ergokinesis, which he energy absorption and manipulation. Okay, so we can work with that. We can work with that based on what I've seen so far with some of the characters from the elites. But don't want to do Hopebreaker a disservice here. Let's go back and discuss those powers. All right. So, and once more, I think I could have just exited out, but I'm bugging. All right. Hopebreaker himself. Let's talk about it because he has a nice set of abilities. So, his equipment, he wears a symbiotic outfit. He's got nether energy weapons. I think I might have misspelled that. Nether energy weapons. His powers, right? He is able to conjure weapons, see ghosts, create portals, summon a Hopebreaker army, summon soul change, transfer powers, has intangibility, invisibility, possession, healing factor, something known as the spirit drain. He has the spectral shroud and possession immunity. So he ain't getting possessed by anybody. So solid set of powers. And so when you turn around, you talk about Marvelous being able to manipulate energy and stuff as well. I can imagine some good, decent kind of tag team moves, because I imagine nether energy, right? To some extent, Marvelous should be able to man, trying to stream with kids, man, it's kind of crazy. Hold on. And we'll edit that in post. So, anyway, there it is, right? So I imagine some cool tag team attacks. Spiff, let me know if that's possible for somebody with energy manipulation to be able to manipulate and utilize another energy, or is that something that's going to be unique to him? Nobody else can really touch that, so on and so forth. Again, in the sake or sense of a team attack. So I do need to fix these fix the colors on the other joint though. For Marvelous, it should be pink. Um it should be pink. Yeah, he's the only one sitting there with a green dot. So definitely visit the website if you guys are on the database so that we can work out the kinks, right? I definitely want to be able to work out the kinks and make sure that I have everything down accurately based on the forms that you all turned in. So now we're going to move right along. And you know what? I'm probably just going to open all of these up. Open link in new tab. Yeah, so that we don't have to keep clicking off and all that other stuff. Was there any member in tier 9? No. So Devana is here. She's tier 8. Well, regardless, let me open that up. Jeremiah Moore, Josiah Wright, Magnitude himself. And then we have Derek Ellis and Detono. Okay. Again, we're going to go through the power stats and abilities of each of these characters, and then, yeah, nether energy is an energy that cannot just affect you physically, but also spiritually, so it will attack your soul. It's all looking good, Lloyd. Hey, yeah, perfect. Thank you. But yeah, if I misspelled something or left out something, so on and so forth, please let me know. And again, we talked about it last week. Some of the characters' powers may look a little empty, right? Because in some cases, not saying Divana or any of the elites or Hopebreaker or Marvelous in this case, but for sake of conversation, if you also put like super strength, super durability, super speed, there was no need to repeat that in the power section when we already have that technically included in the stats when we talk about where they sit. Okay. So some characters might have one or two things there, but that doesn't take away from the rest of the super stats that they have. Okay. In an attempt to make it a little bit more concise, a little easier to read and understand what these characters are coming from and what they're able to do. That's why we went that route. Okay. So we're going to move right along. We are on Devana. And I think I'm saying that right, Tariq. If you're in here, if you guys know the pronunciation or what have you, please let me know. Okay. So once more, this character, I'm pretty sure, is sitting at an 8, which automatically puts her at, well, urban level, as you guys can see. Now, when we go back over to her specific thing, we've got 3 dots there. If you look at that, that's 8C technically. So with 8C, she's able to make or do small to large building destruction. That is her raw kind of strength and ability. Now, let's dive into, well, her raw kind of destruction ability, if you would. Now, let's dive into her actual strength, right? So, with her ability, she could probably do that. However, with not her abilities, just her natural strength, she sits at a spot where she can only really lift her own body weight, right? But I'm sure when we talk about the chain generation and manipulation, that's what's going to be doing a lot of the damage. But regardless, not to belabor a point here, let's dive into intelligence. She's at a 4, so she's gifted. Not a genius, right? But definitely more than learned. She's definitely gifted and very smart character. Speed-wise, she's sitting at a 3, which is superhuman, and she can go up to 700 miles per hour. So that's crazy. And of course, that's, anyway, that's past normal, which would be 25 to 30 miles per hour, right? So anyway, so she can move pretty doggone fast. We did intelligence already. Let's talk about durability. Durability sits at a 3, which she's enhanced with efficient healing. Next up, we're at agility, which is a 5. That means she's hypersonic and able to dodge bullets at point blank range. Okay. Then we have her energy projection, which sits at a 3. Her energy projection is short range and duration. It's a single form of energy, which I'm assuming is connected to the chain generation manipulation that she had. That's the only type of energy or ability that she's able to produce. That's that single form of energy. Now, lastly, and certainly not least, we talk about fighting ability, which is a 5. So she's a master of single form combat. So absolutely fantastic, as it says on her little blip here. Member of the elites and manipulator of change. It says a manipulator of change. Typo, we'll fix that. All right. So next up, we're going to move to Jeremiah Moore. And again, like we stated before, this team is pretty close knit and they move as a unit. So take all of that into account as we kind of go into each of these and talk about what the possibilities are for Marvelous and Hopebreaker to kind of find an end to attack them. And then we'll dive into what Tariq sent us prior to the match about what his team is going to do. I'm going to cross reference that from what we learned about Icarus Metro City itself. Again, if you guys haven't checked out Calvin Chambers' Icarus Metro, you're doing yourself a disservice. Definitely check that out. But what we're doing with hopefully what we start doing with a lot more of these matches and stuff like that, we want it to take place in the cities that your characters live in, right? So we want to know more and we want to get people to pick up your books, right? So whether it's the locations, instead of doing Star Labs or Gotham and all this other stuff, we want to, if your story takes place in a particular city, even if it is a real world city, we want to know what that looks like, what that version of the city looks like, so that we can incorporate that. And so when people were like, "Oh man, Icarus Metro is this futuristic city that looks like it's in the year 2100, but it's 2025," tell me more. Go pick up the book, support each other. So definitely check all that other stuff out. But anyway, we'll talk more about the city in a moment. Let's get back to Jeremiah Moore, another member of the elites, and he is his power is cloning, clay manipulation, and he has an exoskeleton, which I'm assuming, of course, is connected to that clay manipulation. So we're going to dive into those abilities once more, starting with strength. He's still on the same level as Devana just now, right? Which would put them at, what is that? What was that? Urban, which also would put him at the ability to small to large building scale destruction, right? Now, of course, he does have that cloning ability, which could be a problem, but more on that when we dive more into the matchup proper. So he sits at a 4. So he can lift 800 pounds to 25 tons. And then we have intelligence, which puts him at a 5. He is a genius level intellect. Speed, he sits at a 3, which is slower than the others. Well, no. The other one was at superhuman, up to 700 miles per hour. The heroes so far have them with the speed, because I believe Hopebreaker and Marvelous are both at a Mach 1 speed. So they can potentially blitz these characters, right? Um, After speed, we have durability, which sits at a 5. He's bulletproof, right? So if we're in dense skin to repel most weapons, so him and Marvelous have the same durability. So they're gonna have to try to match each other if we get to fisticuffs, right? And we have agility. He sits at a 5, so he's hypersonic, able to dodge bullets at point blank range. And then we have energy projection, which is at a 4. So he's got medium range and duration and able to basically manipulate a single form of energy, which is that clay manipulation. And obviously, again, using that to clone himself or what have you. And then fighting ability, he sits at a 6. So he's a master of several forms of combat, which still puts him under Marvelous, because Marvelous is able to fight um, with every form of combat, right? So he's a master of all forms of combat. So they're gonna have a hard time hand to hand with him. And I'll reopen actually. Let me reopen Hopebreaker and Marvelous, because I do want to make sure that we're referencing and bringing up those power stats and abilities accurately. So anyway, that's enough with Jeremiah Moore. Let's move over to Josiah right now. Already, this is probably one of the biggest matches in the indie breakdown so far, because this is what, like 5 or 6 characters versus 2 technically in the city or what have you. So it will take a little bit longer, right, for us to dive through all the rest of the abilities and what have you, and really break some of these things down. But please stick around, enjoy. We're talking about your characters, we're spreading the word and getting people hopefully interested in what you guys have going on. Oh, they go to boy Lonzo, man. What's going on, bro? What's going on? In case somehow you guys don't know, Lonzo, of course, runs Concrete Comics and is one of the admins and co-founder of this group. So definitely shout out, definitely respect, bro. Appreciate you being here. Let's dive right back in. In case you guys don't know, Tashi is also my lovely wife. Dre Burke and Ben are all moderators and or admins, if you would, within the group. So please, definitely show some love there and all that other good stuff. But anyway, we're on Josiah Wright, another member of the elites, and he has gravity manipulation. Now this guy right here is in my head canon is probably going to be one of the more dangerous ones, right? How do you fight back against gravity manipulation? Now, again, Hopebreaker has a wonderful host of abilities with his nether energies and portals and be able to summon armies and stuff like that. So I can see him getting out of that. But I don't know if Marvelous has what it takes to get out of gravity manipulation. But more on that when we get to the battle proper. Okay, so Josiah Wright sits at a strength of 2. So, and then again, looking at this, he is to explain once more to everybody. And dang, I see a couple more. No, I don't. This was the only mistake with Marvelous right there. So to explain that one more time, regardless of that. So we see Josiah right here under this tier. What is that tier? He is urban level. So when you see that color, you know it's urban level. If there's 2 dots, it's a B. If it's 3 dots, it's a C. If it's 1 dot, it's an A. So with him sitting at 8B, it was 8, right? Yeah, 8B. That makes him 8B is can cause city block levels of destruction, right? And again, with gravity manipulation, that tracks, right? But anyway, I'm not going to keep explaining that. Again, visit indiebreakdown.com, check out the database, and in there is going to be where you see the tier list as well as the power stats list. So reverting back, we know about gravity manipulation as the powers. The strength, we know that he's able to lift his own body weight, right? So physically, he's not that strong. His power is what is the most dangerous situation there. His intelligence, once more, we got another gifted character here, right? In regards to intelligence, 2. His speed is at a 2. So again, no, he's normal. Actually, he's the slowest character of the bunch right here that we've all talked about so far. He sits at a 2, which is only 25 to 30 miles per hour. Next up, he's got durability at a 3. So enhanced with efficient healing. Again, some of these characters right now in the elites in regards to durability is definitely lower than our heroes right now. So I don't think they're going to have a hard time taking them out individually, what have you. But again, we got to talk about the nuance of those abilities here in a moment. 4 for his agility, which puts him at superhuman, so he can dodge bullets from a distance. Okay, so no point blank range like the other character there. I keep wanting to say that this is number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, yeah, that's not the case. But he has a 5 on energy projection, which means long range duration and single energy. Again, his only energy ability, if you would, that he's able to manipulate is gravity, right? And then we have fighting ability at a 3. So he has some training. So he's the least experienced fighter at the moment for this group. Okay. So we're going to move right along to, and again, if you guys want to follow along, if you guys want to visit that indiebreakdown.com, check out the database. We're talking about the elites. Most of them say that it's the elites in the thing, but for the sake of conversation, magnitude definitely doesn't. But it's on the post itself, right? So if you look at the post, I have the names listed out of who all of the elites. You can check out on the website who, what, their powers, their stats, the database, and all other stuff is right there. So I'm going to refrain from referencing the tier again, because you guys can look at that yourselves. I will still go over the strength, and I will still talk about the actual powers, though, okay? Just for the sake of time, okay? So strength sits at a 6, so he's definitely up there. So he can lift 75 to 100 tons. I think we saw that with a previous member. I think we actually saw that with Hopebreaker and Marvelous. So this guy is actually going blow for blow with them. Next, we have that intelligence again. He's learned. So again, there's some other characters on his team that's smarter than him, but they still respect him because this is the leader right here, people. And he's not even the strongest technically based on the information that we have. He's not even the strongest member of the elite. So these guys definitely respect him regardless of where they are on the totem pole per se. Speed is at a 3, so he's superhuman. He can move up to 700 miles per hour. That means he's not even the fastest person on his team because I'm pretty sure a couple of them move at Mach 1. And again, we'll re-verify this information if necessary. Okay, so intelligence, we already talked about intelligence. We're on durability now. Durability sits at a 6, so he can withstand poisons, extreme temperatures, and concussive attacks. To give you an idea, that's even better than the bulletproof, the regenerative abilities, enhanced with efficient healing, all that other stuff. He surpasses all that. He is one away, or the next rung, to give you an idea, would be virtually indestructible. So he's like 1 stat away from that, just to give you an idea of how durable he is. His agility sits at hypersonic, so he's able to dodge bullets at point blank. And now when we get to energy projection, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same as everybody else's. Medium, single form of energy that he's able to utilize, which is his telekinesis, earth mimicry, and once more exoskeleton with these earth abilities. And now his fighting ability is also a 6, just like the previous character. He's a master of several forms of combat. I mean, I guess you're going to have to do that, right? And either you can fight with your hands, but then you're also able to earth mimicry and telekinesis, like you're controlling the earth, right? The ground and all that other stuff. So you got to learn how to play your cards right with there. So it makes sense why he's got multiple forms of combat with that. So Derek Ellis. He has electrokinesis. Okay, and again, you see the powers. Some characters have one, two. When we went to Hopebreaker, he had a whole plethora, right? But again, the reason why some people's are empty because they don't have that many different moves. For those of you guys that put super strength, super durability, super speed, we did not include that because it's already gone over in the stats. Once more, I'm just saying that for anybody new that might have joined, we will not be revisiting that unless asked. So moving right along, we are on strength for Derek Ellis. He has a 3, so he can lift twice one's body weight. Okay. His intelligence is at a 2, so average intellect, right? His speed is at a 6, so he is definitely the fastest character in this matchup on his team and otherwise. Light speed, he could move up to 186,000 miles per second. All right, so next up, we have durability, which is at a 3. So enhanced with efficient healing. Not durability, agility is at a 6. So sub-relativistic. So he can dodge things at light speed as well. So not only can he travel that, he's also able to get up out of the way close range like that as well. Energy projection sits at a 5. So long range duration, single form of energy, right? Most of them are going to be the case because he controls electricity. The other guy controls earth. The other one controls clay. The other one controls chains, so on and so forth. Very specific. They have that one ability to work with. And now fighting ability sits at a 4. So he's an experienced fighter, right? He's not a master of anything, but he does have he's experienced. He's done this a couple times, right? Next up, and we already talked about that he has electrokinesis. Next up, we have Detono, and I believe that's finally it as it relates to the members of the Elites. The Elites are the characters or villain group that you'll find in Atlas by TDJ or TDJ Comics or Tariq Holmes, if you would, who's also in the group. So definitely give him a shout out, talk about whether or not you like the characters, the design, so on and so forth. And then same thing, let me go ahead and say, check out Hopebreaker by Spiff Nation or Justin, if you would, and check out heartlinecomics.com for Hopebreaker. And then we have Marvelous by Jamal R. Simpson. You'll see him in the group as Molly Simpson. You can see more deviantart.com, JJ Studio / JJ Studios Comics. Again, all of this is on the card. All of the stuff that you guys can check out, go and support each other and chat with each other within the group. So he has explosive contact, which in my head I see him basically as Bakugo. You know what I'm saying? In regards to the explosive blast or what have you on contact with it, minus the whole sweat gland situation. Just can just do it as he will. So let's talk about that strength there. He's got a 3 there, so he can lift twice one's body limit or body weight, right? His intelligence, he's gifted, right? His speed is at a 3, so we're back down to the superhuman range, no longer Mach or light speed, right? So he sits at up to 700 miles per hour. We talked about intelligence. Let me skip over that. Durability sits at a 4, so regenerative, and it's difficult to permanently injure him. I imagine so, because I mean, on contact, he's causing explosions, so he has to have some sort of durability about him, right? His agility sits at a 5, so he's hypersonic, so he's able to dodge bullets at point blank, which is pretty impressive. Because again, I see superhuman; he's only able to rush people at 700 miles per hour. But again, that kind of perception and ability to kind of bob and weave out of the way of a point blank bullet is kind of epic, right? Now, here's what's interesting in regards to his energy projection. He sits at a 6, so he's able to discharge multiple forms of energy. So I definitely want to see. Well, I guess what that means is varying levels of explosions, right? We can go from dynamite to nukes, right? In regards to that, so it's one power, right? But the levels of it can be what we're referencing here as it relates to that. And now, last but not least, we have his fighting ability, which is at a 5. So he's a master of a single form of combat. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it in regards to power stats and abilities. What we're going to do next, is we are going to go over what was said in the comment section. And following that, that's when we will go ahead and reference what Tariq said as it relates to, hey, little one, as it relates to his game plan entering Icarus Metro City. So, again, if you guys haven't read Icarus Metro, definitely do so if you can, or if you haven't. I'm going to go over what Icarus Metro City, where it is, and a little bit more about it really quick before we proceed. And this is all confirmed by the creator Calvin Chambers as well. So, first off, Icarus Metro is a pseudo New Jersey, like we talked about before, kind of pseudo New Jersey, Philly, Staten Island, if you would. The architecture for the city, and we brought it up several times during my initial kind of explanation here, but I'm going to kind of verbatim it to make sure that we don't miss anything. So the architecture for the city is futuristic, and the technology is in the year 2100, but it's only 2025, right? So it's a real tech hub, and people walk by battling powered people as if it's normal. So if things pop off here, right? Sake of conversation, if Hopebreaker and Marvelous go in there guns blazing and um fight against the elites, well, it's just another Tuesday for them, right? But the problem is there's a good bit of people there that also do have powers, right? So there's the double-edged sword potentially. Might be getting ahead of myself with that. His words: "You're bound to catch a stray from a local bounty hunter or get hunted by the cops with plasma guns." So they are equipped with some decent equipment there. There's something called Dragon's Den locations, which are safe havens for people from arrest, which you can find in Icarus Metro Issue 1. And all fighting within these havens are off limits, but they do not make up the bulk of the city at all. And so, when asked the battle powered people, are they reckless? The answer was absolutely. People are dying there, right? Specifically mentioning the fact that even the characters that are the main characters of the story, that's why he never says these people are heroes. He goes on to reiterate that the Dragon's Den, those safe havens, and certain homes have adapted shielding technology like an ADT home protection, right? So, some places, very few places are protected. Let's get that out of the way. Now, I did ask whether or not the people in universe, the paranormals, believe themselves to be that next evolution of mankind, and we'll dive more into why that questioning was important in a moment. But there are some that definitely do, right? Their powers do come from another dimension, and their label are the paranormals. Technically have abilities that are more celestial, if you would. Um, and so that's enough with that, right? So we talked a little bit about the people that are in Icarus Metro City. And we've also talked about the city itself. So now let us see how Marvelous and Hopebreaker decided to attack this situation. Okay. And I'm opening all comments and what have you now. I just want to remind you what the objectives are: infiltrate Icarus Metro, investigate what's going on within the city, and neutralize the elites. So let's dive in really quick. All right, so we already talked about Marvelous and what all he can do, but for the sake of providing a little extra backstory, he is an officer or a former police officer, now private detective. So investigating should be right up his alley. Of course, we know about superhuman strength. We know about the dense skin and all this other stuff. The ergokinesis, which is energy absorption and manipulation, and he does have some fight training, so we know all of that, right? Um, We've already gone over the characters or what have you. Let's get to the parts where we talk about what the game plan is. Ba-da-ba. Okay, so I see some teamwork here. Molly stated, after Hopebreaker and Marvelous finish surveying the location from the exterior and interior part of the property, they should use guile, not brute force, to enter the perimeter because they haven't known yet what type of abilities the elites have that could hinder them. Smart move. Observe, trust but verify, see what you can learn first, right? Understanding that Magnitude, Jeremiah, and Devon will give Marvelous the most problems in this mission. Very good observations. Outstanding. So let's see what else we got. Now, I know I'm not bugging. I'm pretty sure I saw more discussion happening than this. Hold on. Maybe I missed something. I'm pretty sure I saw way more discussion than this. Hold on. No, 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 no. Hold on, guys. I thought I saw a lot more happening. But I'm pretty sure Smith brought up some valid points about how they would attack some of these characters. Let me make sure that this was on this post and not the um, original announcement of the matchup. We'll be back after this brief message. I should set up commercials and stuff like that. While I'm looking for this really quick, y'all, how was y'all week doing? Any big plans for the week coming up? And are you guys enjoying these here? Please let me know. So we can talk more about that and figure out what to do next. Yeah, okay. For some reason, it's showing on my phone more and not on there. That's very odd. No, there it is. I skipped over it. There's 13 replies right here. Let's go. All right. So the elites are expecting Marvelous, but not his alter ego private investigator, Malcolm Garfield. So Marvelous will first infiltrate the city in his civilian alias. Now, before we even go any further, they ain't looking for nobody. They don't know who Marvelous is to begin with, right? When they appeared in the city, uh, they made themselves known on purpose because they already had a plan formulated. Enjoying, absolutely. I think this is gold. Hey, well, shoot, then we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this. So be on the lookout. Wednesday will be the announcement for the Nexus matchup. Thursday or Friday, we'll run live based on the conversation. Saturday will be the announcement for the other one. And then Sunday will probably be the live, depending on the conversation and how it goes. We don't want these to linger too terribly much because obviously we have to post other things that we're doing, other stuff that we're working on. So we'll get it in where it fits in, right? So, um, So no, regardless if you popped up as Marvelous or Malcolm Garfield, you don't make them known. Never mind, because the fact that they made them known at the end of the last event, they expect some hero to show up. Now, how soon and what they do when they get into the city, they don't know what to expect. But I do like this thought process of I'm not going to go in there. Obviously, a beacon of show. Naruto with an orange jumpsuit on. You're supposed to be a ninja trying to sneak, right? So I do like this line of thinking, long and short of it. But I want to know what the first thing it is that he does. So he starts asking questions about what the elite's plans are and some intel about them. Bittersweet. This could work, right? Dre did bring up a good point based on what he knows about the characters. He's like, oh man, this might be a bad idea, or more accurate, he says that's a horrible idea. One of them can clone himself. You don't really know if the clones are mixed with the population and who would feed info back to the elite group, which is a very valid thought process. However, that is the move that he decided to make. So meanwhile, Molly, or rather Marvelous, is going around asking questions to see what that he can learn, what all he can learn. Meanwhile, Hopebreaker, according to Smith, will use his wraith form and turn invisible and intangible and try to possess Divana Casella and shut her down by soul draining her until she gets knocked out. Now, while he's still inside of her body, I read that wrong. Let me start over. Apologies. All right. Hopebreaker will use his wraith form and turn invisible and intangible and try to possess Divana and shut her down by soul draining her until she gets knocked out while he's still in her until she gets knocked out while he's still inside her body. And then he would try to get Josiah Rice to come with her to nearby secluded area by telling him that she saw something. And while he comes over to the secluded area, he would use his soul change by making it look like it was Divana just using her normal powers and chain Josiah up, starts wailing on him, and then drains him until he's knocked out. So now Hopebreaker is stronger, faster, and more durable. Nice. Okay. And again, in my description, however, is a very tight knit group, so they're usually together for a good bit of the time. But we're gonna again wait until we get to the layout that Tariq provided of what the team was actually doing, what their plot was, or what they were up to before we dive into that a little further. Okay. So we have Marvelous is off investigating, and Hopebreaker is getting it in. How would he find her after just now getting into the city to drain any of them? We will get to that very, very valid point. Very valid point. Now, you know what? Let's go back to his power stats and abilities really quick. Conjure weapons, see ghosts, create portals, summon Hopebreaker armies, summon soul chains, transfer powers, of course, intangibility, invisibility, possession, healing factor, spirit drain, spectral shroud, and possession immunity. Now, it's not on here, but I am curious to know if you're still in here, Spiff. Does Hopebreaker have the ability to sense out anybody? Now, again, it's not on here, so we can't necessarily use it, but I do want to further understand the thought process on how he would be able to find her and do that, right? So we'll dive more into that. Hopefully he's still in here to give a valid response to that, but we're going to move forward. All right. And I love the fact, Dre, that you that you pop up and you're like, hey, don't get tunnel vision. Remember, highly populated areas and stuff. So yeah. Then he said, yeah, I want to hear what they're talking about by using his wraith form and see what their plan is. Now, this I do like, right? I think I would have preferred this initially. Like, is he gonna go invisible and find out? He's gonna go and find out more intel, right? But because this is said after the fact, Um, and again, we'll talk more about how he could have found them, what they were actually doing in cross reference, what have you. But in this layout of events, the first move was to attack. The first move was to try to take out Devana, was to take out Josiah, and then listen to what the plan is, unless I'm reading it wrong. And then he says, yeah, no. We'll use his ray form and turn invisible and intangible and try to possess her, shut her body down, and then would try to get Josiah Wright to come with her to a nearby secluded area by telling him what he saw, what she saw, da 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 da. So we from that, in this assumption here, they're not even together in the first place. To have a discussion and figure out the plan. So we have to assume then that this is after he's knocked both of them out potentially, and then turns invisible or is possessing one of their bodies or what have you, and is then trying to go off and see what the plan is. But in regards to the wraith form, that's invisibility. So he just leaves the two of them there, goes into wraith form, and tries to figure out where the others are. Correct me if I'm wrong in these assumptions, because again, these aren't my characters, and I don't want to completely assume what anybody's thinking. I can only go based off what's written here and what we know the characters to be able to do. So going down a little further, if I continued to read, I would have had my answer. After Hopebreak takes out those two, he will do some more reconnaissance and uses Ray form to see what they are planning, trying to listen to their conversation. So just a little bit of a rewording of what of what was stated, right? But a little bit more clarifying, if you would. Hopebreaker will create a portal and grab Jeremiah Moore and throw him inside quickly and closing it after he's in, taking him out of the fight. And if he's essentially separating him from the rest of the team. Now let me make sure of something. So right now we're talking that Devana got possessed, and soul drained. Then Josiah gets knocked out, and now he's creating a portal for Jeremiah Moore and throwing him inside and keeping him there. And then last but not least, I say last but not least, but we got to scroll down more to make that assumption. So the idea is he's taking Jeremiah Moore out of the fight, put him in that portal, and then last he says, "I want Hopebreaker to scan the area to see if anyone has the same soul, or if there's people around that don't have any souls, like clones. If there's any clones in the area inside the crowds of people, this should be able to find out." Now, obviously in my head, of course, I'm putting the story together in my head based on what you guys are saying, right? He performed no recon, got to get eyes on, set up inner and outer court. Yep, right. Get as much intel before. Yes, yes. So, and I think that was the last bit of information. So we're about to put it all together, what they did. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here's the tough part. So here's how this could play out, right? Molly said Hopebreaker and Marvelous finished surveying the location from the exterior and interior part of the property. And they should use not guile but brute force to enter the perimeter because because they don't know what the abilities are. And we do know that he said that he's gonna be in there as his alias, right? So he's not gonna be in his gear. He's gonna be in there as a civilian investigating and asking questions, right? That's what Marvelous is currently doing. Cool. No action, right? No action has been made. He's chilling. He's doing some investigating. When we talk about surveying the location, my assumption, right? I immediately see Metal Gear Solid. He's sitting outside of Shadow Moses. He's looking in with the binoculars, or any of those Metal Gear Solid games. He's sitting outside the base looking with the binoculars. Okay, this person's here. This person's here. Do they see the elites? Well, according to this, they didn't see anybody. They just surveyed the property and area and then going and investigating and asking questions. They don't see anybody from here. They did not make the assumption that they saw them at any point. They're just looking around and saying, okay, we're going to go ahead and enter the perimeter from a certain point there. Okay. And even if he sees Soul, Marvelous is asked out because there's no communication. Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's tough. So yes, Marvelous is in the city. They're not communicating right now. He's investigating. The first move Hopebreaker makes is to try to attack. Are they together? Right? In our post, in the original post, we said that they move as a unit. Okay. With that being said, that means Devana, Jeremiah, Josiah, Derek, Detono, and Magnitude are all together. So when Hopebreaker busts in the room, because that's how we're gonna say it, he uses his ray form and turns invisible, and then possesses Devana. But when he does that, she's not the only one there, right? So again, if we talk about they found them somehow. He was able to sense them out. He was able to try to figure it out, and he gets to them. And his first move is that, and they're all together. That's a problem. But you know what? We're gonna play devil's advocate. Let's say through his abilities, through his natural abilities, again, it's not on the card, right? It's not on the card. But my assumption is because sometimes we forget small details about our characters. I know I do. Maybe he is able to sense them out. Maybe he did find her, still didn't communicate with Marvelous. He's able to find her. She happens to be by herself, and he possesses her. And then he does the same. And then he does the same. And then he does exactly what he says. He uses her, possesses her, and then takes out Josiah, right? With this team being as close as they are, with them moving as a unit, and they're down, and they don't hit a check-in, they don't come back in a certain amount of time, it's going to be trouble. It's definitely going to spell trouble. But again, we're giving benefit of the doubt based on this because we are going to go over what Tariq said they would actually be doing, right? But again, playing the advocate role here, if they were able to do this, let's say in response, they do send Jeremiah to go investigate, right? And then he throws him in the portal and keeps it pushing, right? That still leaves, right? So we're talking Divina's gone, Josiah's gone, Jeremiah's gone. That leaves the three strongest members of the group, Magnitude, Detono, and Derek Ellis, to go, something's not right here. And you know what? They think they about to play us. We got something for y'all. So, with that being said, again, playing advocate here, Hopebreaker goes in for the attack. And we're going to say that he, for right now, until we read what Tariq put, but for right now, Marvelous is still investigating. Hopebreaker is elsewhere. He has found Divana. He has found Jeremiah. He's incapacitated both of them. And then Josiah, he just threw in a portal and said, see you later. And that's it. We still got three members out there. And with them not available to check in, they're incapacitated. What happens now? Let's talk about it. So, according to Tariq, before the match, and again, just want to remind you guys, before the matches go live, before you guys start commenting about everything, I reach out to who the villain of the week is going to be, or the opponent of the week is going to be, and I say, hey, your character is going to pop up here. What would their mission be? Why would this villain go here? And tell me more about the personality, tell me about what they would do, and they provide me with a whole mission. They tell me what the character will do, what their plan is, what their overall mission is, who they're trying to convince, what their ultimate goal is, all that other good stuff. And the idea is we want to see if the heroes or the opponent is able to come in, devise a strategy with a lack of intel. Because again, a lot of people, a lot of characters don't go into a situation knowing what's to come. You know what I'm saying? They don't know. Piccolo tried to fight Raditz, right? He didn't know that was Goku's brother. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot. He didn't know there was a Saiyan, right? I don't know what none of that is, right? There's a lack of knowledge, right? 9 times out of 10. Where everybody in Batman who knows the answer to everything. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. So, with that lack of knowledge, what plan could you devise to get in there, figure out what you need to figure out, and move forward? So, let's get to work. Here is what Tariq said about the plans of the elites. And again, this is another opportunity for you guys as you learn more about each other's characters, look these characters and stuff up during the week. You're like, man, I don't know what the personality is. You can ask them, right? And or you pick up each other's books and be like, okay, tell me more about. I want to know more about the elites. Because if you knew what the elites did in issue 1 of Atlas, the moves that were made would not have been made. And you guys are about to hear why. Magnitude is on a mission to subjugate overpopulated cities. This is Tariq's words verbatim. Magnitude is on a mission to subjugate overpopulated cities where they stand on top of the world and become the most dominant species of all humankind. He is a strategic, homicidal, power-hungry crime lord with hundreds of followers, living underground, establishing a powerful nation and elemental bloodline. Using the environment to their advantage, the elites planted artificial earthquake devices in various parts of the city, power boosting Magnitude's terrakinetic abilities to level multiple city blocks and eradicate the weaker humans and those wrongfully in power. Magnitude will give his ultimatum to everyone in Icarus Metro City, including the superpowered ones, to join his cause of restoring the elemental bloodline by colonizing cities, including Icarus Metro City, for his race to coexist in this world. All those who pose or may pose a threat to their future Future plans will be killed on sight, or worse, genocide cleansing by leveling the very foundations and population of Icarus Metro City. 100% death rate and massive casualties. Only the strong shall survive, and that's coming from the elites. So let's talk about that, right? So again, very similar situation as to I keep saying last week, but during the Nexus battle, right? Because we had that crazed character Incendiary, which he wasn't an abnormal. Well, he wasn't abnormal. He wasn't. They're paranormals. He's an abnormal, right? And so they believe that they're these next steps in human evolution. They're both crazy. They're both homicidal, and they don't have a problem dropping an entire city in order to achieve their goals. Now, here's the dangerous part. Again, the hope is you guys check out Icarus Metro. The hope is that you guys check out Atlas. The idea is for you guys to converse with the people that are taking part in these matches and figure out, tell me more about your character. Tell me more about the motivations. Now, I'll never say tell the plan to each other, right? Don't tell the plan. But if it's something that's readily available, especially for the Reckoning group, it's something that's readily available in a book. And this is what I'm expecting for the Reckoning matches for you guys. You guys have an extra edge. You guys can pick up each other's books and read and say, oh, okay, I understand it now, right? And again, so hopefully these battles are kind of instigating more support for one another's stories, to learn about one another's stories. And again, if you ain't got the bread to go ahead and buy the book, just ask the creator a question of, tell me more about the mindset. Tell me more about what are they doing in their story? So I know how to approach the situation, right? So anyway, we have 3 members that have disappeared, but it's not even about the fact that that they were attacked and incapacitated and stuff like that. Magnitude's mission: subjugate overpopulated cities and become the most dominant species of all humankind, right? He is using the environment to that's not what I want to get to. He will give an ultimatum to everyone in Icarus Metro City to join his cause of restoring the elemental bloodline by colonizing cities, including Icarus Metro City, for his race to coexist in this world. If they've already made themselves known, 9 times out of 10, right? Smart villains, where we have several genius intellect villains, like we read, they genius intellect, gifted, very learned characters. They're going to make sure that they did what they wanted to do before making themselves known. They made themselves known. We said that. Proceed with extreme caution. This group moves as a unit. It wouldn't have made themselves known unless they wanted to be seen. And so we should already move in a sense of, and again, very, very nuanced, right? But we're all creators, we're all writers here, and we want to, give those breadcrumbs, right? But here's the problem. My doorbell just rang. If you guys would give me 2 seconds. All right, so I'm back. So this will be edited and post and stuff like that as well. But when we talk about, again, very nuanced situation here, proceeding with proceeding with caution, this group moves as a unit. It wouldn't have made themselves known unless they wanted to be seen. So they completed their mission. What was that? They have convinced the superpowered people that also believe that the next step in human evolution, the paranormals. So now we got a team up of paranormals and elementals, right? And so now that's a problem. And again, like we said, in Icarus Metro City, superpowered beings are reckless. They're dropping people. They do not care. And so now, not only does he already have hundreds of followers, right? Now he's also got Icarus Metro City, a good bit of people in there. So here's a problem. When Marvelous goes in and start asking questions, they might not have taken him out on the spot. Because again, people visit this place. Again, it's a pseudo New Jersey, Philly kind of situation. People visit. So if somebody has questions, I don't imagine it's going to be attack on site. And so he didn't make himself known as anybody like the superhero or anything of that nature. So he was doing okay. It's when Hopebreaker attacks the other three that we're going to run into some issues, right? Now, again, he might be invisible, he might be doing whatever he needs to do, but this is a very highly populated, as we said in the description, very highly populated situation. So if he sees them going down an alley and not coming out, something's wrong. And if they already made themselves known, which means they completed their mission of basically not necessarily, we said subjugated, that's what it says, but he has convinced these people that yes, you're the next step in human evolution, and yes, we are also on the same page, and it's our turn to rule the world, and we will drop anybody that's against us, including the people that are in power. So the people that are in power there, empowered or not, they're dropping them because they don't think that they're worthy. So all intents and purposes, when they made themselves known, they became the new law of Icarus Metro City. There's no heroes there right now, right? And so there's a lot of, as we said, a lot of ignorant ones in that city, easily swayed. It's over. So, unfortunately, he said, I'm back. I was out. No, fair enough. Fair enough. No worries. So, what we've covered so far, we talked about the plan of the elites. Their main plan was to subjugate the city and, of course, convince the other characters or the other people in the city that they were the next line of evolution, right? So, in Atlas and the story Atlas and the story where the elites come from by TDJ Comics, they are known as the elementals, right? They're elementals and they're trying to restore this kind of bloodline or what have you. In the Icarus Metro story, or in Icarus Metro City, if you would, it's a very high tech city that has a lot of superpowered people. They're known as paranormals. So there's a very cool, kind of interesting parallel there. And so when you have somebody or have a group of people that are just like, yeah, we're the next line of evolution, and somebody says you're doggone right, and we should be taking over the world, they're gonna buy into that. Unfortunately, they did. Hence why they made themselves known. And we said they wouldn't have done it unless they wanted to be seen. Why would they want to be seen? Because they completed their mission already. And they just wanted to send a message and let you know. So, one of two things could have happened if you guys failed this mission. One or two things could have happened, right? One, if you guys were figured out a way to, I misread it as 4 p.m. PST. No, you're fine. You're fine. We'll reschedule. It was supposed to be EST, but this is something completely separate, Emeka. This is something completely separate. Our interviews for the official show, the Indie Breakdown show, we'll reschedule our interview and stuff like that. This is a breakdown of this week's Reckoning battle. Okay, so you're fine. Yeah, I was gonna do that. I just didn't hear if there were any clones in the crowd, which you weren't going to, because what I was basically, we just want to know how you guys would attack a situation with a lack of intel, right? I also, like I was saying a little while ago, my hope is throughout this, and again, we're slowly gearing up. We're slowly gearing up to move towards the events that our friends at Dice and Dopeness are going to do. We want you guys to get into the idea of asking certain questions to kind of, not necessarily the clones question, but more of the, hey, well, what does this city consist of? Hey, tell me more about the personality of these characters, right? We want you guys to kind of dive in on that. You don't know about the cloning ability, right? Your character doesn't know about the cloning ability. Whatever intel that we provided, that's what you know. Now, of course, you can get ahead of the curve and read the cards and stuff like that to understand that that was a thing. But your characters don't truly know that ability. We did not provide that intel, right? We are still building a database, if you would, about what each of these characters and stuff are doing when we see them in action. We know that they're a dangerous group. We know that they hold some powers. We know that they're out there and again attempting to subjugate communities. They have a bunch of followers and stuff like that. But what it is everybody can do, we don't know. Think about it like on shows like Invincible. Think about it like on One Punch Man or My Hero, where it's just like, yeah, these characters, some of these characters have powers and stuff like that. But what are the upper limits of Mark's powers? Okay, he can fly, he's got super strength, but how many tons can he lift? Right? Like, oh, okay, we've seen this guy manipulate Earth to a certain extent, but is he able to put armor around himself? There's still nuance that we don't all the way know. And so even when we use Marvelous as an example, when we talk about he has ergokinesis, can manipulate energy, there's a nuance that we don't understand about his character in verse yet, right? Hence why I asked earlier, could he manipulate nether energy, right? Because that's not necessarily anything that could be explored without reading the book, and maybe it's not even something that he's touched on in said book. Those are the type of kind of nuanced questions I'm looking for in regards to this. But you attack 3 of the characters, cool. Problem is, their plan was to subjugate or rather get the whole rest of the city on the same page with them. So let's say the 1 or 2 outcomes based on the moves that you guys made, either, and again, this is based on what Tariq said, since you just got back in here, hold on. Let me read to you what Tariq said specifically about what the elite's plan was in here. Magnitude is on a mission to subjugate overpopulated cities where they stand on top of the world and become the most dominant species of all humankind. He's a strategic, homicidal, power-hungry crime lord with hundreds of followers. This sounds a lot like what happened with Incendiary, right? Living underground, establishing a powerful nation and elemental bloodline. Using the environment to their advantage, the elites planted artificial earthquake devices in various parts of the city, power boosting Magnitude's terrakinetic abilities to level multiple city blocks and eradicate the weaker humans and those wrongfully in power. Magnitude will give his ultimatum to everyone in Icarus Metro City, including the superpowered ones, to join his cause of restoring the elemental bloodline by colonizing cities, including Icarus Metro City, for his race to coexist in this world. All those who oppose or may pose a threat to their future plans will be killed on sight or worse. Genocidal cleansing by leveling the very foundations and population of Icarus Metro City. 100% death rate and massive casualties. Only the strong survive. And that's coming from the elites. That's what he said. So, one or two outcomes from making this move, from diving in and not doing further investigation and not, unfortunately, informing one another of each other's game plan, right? Because Marvelous just went in. He snuck in, no, as his regular self, and did his police investigation and stuff like that. You went in and attacked. Now, again, maybe you caught them off guard. It's a very highly populated city, as we discussed, very highly populated city. And if he made himself known, if this group proceed with caution because this group moves as a unit, it wouldn't have made themselves known unless they wanted to be seen. Mission was accomplished. They move as a unit. So if there's a moment where they're disappear, when they disconnect and they're not checking back in, something's wrong. But not only that, it's a highly populated area of people that are like-minded. So somebody's going to snitch. Somebody's going to bring that up. So unfortunately, thank you, ma'am. So unfortunately, the only two outcomes would be with these moves that you guys have made is A, they say screw it and they level the city. But they didn't get caught off guard, right? There was no they knew what was going to happen, right? But we saw this in, again, if you read it, Atlas 1, you know what they're capable of. So this isn't something that's being pulled out. There's a lot of stuff that he explained here that you read Atlas 1, you'll see in action. Now, here is what actually I believe my verdict would happen. They know that they're being under attack. Everybody's on high alert now. And so Marvelous in the middle of the city and Hopebreaker may be intangible. But that whole city is going to be on a hunt for you guys. Now, I believe nothing's going to happen to the characters. But I say mission failed. Hey, our people it's only going to add to their propaganda and saying people are after us. People tried to stop us. People are denying us our right. And denying that we're the next step in human evolution. He's going to activate these people to now begin a massive campaign to start trying to subjugate these cities as stated in the plan, to start taking over and making colonies of superpowered beings. So we see a official solidified team up of paranormals and elementals in this. He already had hundreds of followers before. Icarus Metro is definitely thousands, if not millions of people. Hold on, if we're talking about a pseudo New Jersey, how many people live in New Jersey? 9.5 million. Okay. We're not going to assume that all 9.5 million are down with this cause, but even if we're talking hundreds of thousands at a low ball are going to be backing this, of superpowered people who are already reckless, who are already trying to cause damage and stuff there. Unfortunately, in our haste, we have only solidified this partnership, and now not only are the elementals and the paranormals a threat to Icarus Metro City, the rest of the United States is now in danger of being colonized by these paranormals and elementals. So unfortunately, right now, trapped behind enemy lines is Hopebreaker and Marvelous. Hopebreaker can get away. He's got his intangibility. He's got his, he's got his invisibility. Nobody knows where he's at. And Marvelous has his other gear on, but they bear witness. They are bearing witness to, unfortunately, the rise of a new faction within the state. So not only are those other villains that's happening, Incendiary just got rid of Underground Atlanta. We have all those other villains that are kind of everywhere else. Our main heroes are nowhere to be found, fighting against untold beings and monsters. It's done. They just witnessed that mission failed. You have only solidified a new partnership and a new massive threat. And here's the other crazy part. Here's the worry, because Incendiary is kind of the same, if I'm not mistaken, Dre. And I'll reread Incendiary's plan from last week. Now again, kind of merging a little bit loosely the Nexus and Reckoning situation, but we'll go back to what's going on with what happened with Incendiary and a little bit of his background, if you would. Hold on, let me go back to that, and then we'll get ready to close out. I'll answer any questions that you guys may have. But then Dre says, if there are those who oppose, should have checked if any are alive to get them out or to get them on their side. Other superpowers who don't believe in their cause, right? And that's a possibility, right? That could have been a possibility. Hold on, let me dang, Dre, where did I put that at? You sent it in our group text. Okay, here we go. Where's it at? Gotta scroll through. We message a lot. Okay, so a little bit about Incendiary, really quick. We already know he picks overpopulated areas. The more eyes on the situation, the better for his propaganda, right? He's a genocidal fanatic with hundreds of followers, just like our boy Magnitude, right? But they're on the loose end, right? They're all just as messed up, and they're willing to sacrifice their lives for his cause. And so that's the only bit, those first two pieces there. So both of them already had followers in the hundreds, right? And he's got propaganda to try to showcase that the heroes are kind of garbage, right? He's trying to persuade those with superpowers to join him as abnormals. That's what they're called, the abnormals. So we have the paranormals, we have the abnormals, and we have the elementals. You guys see why I picked this next? Well, why I love what you guys picked and what kind of the direction this kind of faux universal story is going. Paranormals, abnormals, elementals. He's trying to persuade those with superpowers to join him as abnormals, should they be the next step in mankind, and should be able to do what they want, when they want, and how they want, and never be checked or regulated. While trying to persuade them, he would also be storing up heat or combustion. So we saw kind of a repeat. When we saw a really crazy character in the form of Incendiary that was trying to destroy everything to prove that heroes ain't no good. Meanwhile, we have this other guy that's just like, I'm not going to destroy anything. Y'all come on and join me. Right now, he still would have, but that's not the route that he took. So we have, if these two groups meet together, we're talking about a massive group of hundreds of thousands. I want y'all to think about how that villain arc and everything, how it started to get dark in My Hero Academia. That's what this world is starting to shape up to be. Paranormals, abnormals, and elementals are about to team up together. Hopefully, in the next mission, we don't see the abnormals and the paranormal and elemental team up come together in a full force, because if they do, the entire East Coast is screwed. And unfortunately, there is a character in the database that might just have what it takes to bring all three groups together. So, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing our second failed mission in this here. Again, technically two separate things between Nexus and Reckoning battles. However, they're all taking place in the same kind of faux amalgam universe that we have here in the Indie Breakdown group. So, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Hopebreaker and Marvelous did not succeed in neutralizing the elites. They did infiltrate somewhat. We saw Marvelous begin to investigate. However, we got a little too hasty. In trying to utilize the full scope of our abilities to either try to sense out where they are, but then the biggest part is communication. Y'all are a team. Marvelous was investigating, asking the right questions, right? We should have had Hopebreaker go invisible and try to survey and figure out where they are. Between his portals, his traversal ability was there. He could have been where he needed to be, wherever he needed to be, how he needed to find them. He had the ability to do so, right? And to your point, he could have been intangible. And if he found Ivana, he could have waited for her to go back to the team. He could have waited for Josiah to get back to the team, figure out where everybody else is, and listen into the plan. And then ideally, if you figured out where everybody was and dropped everybody into a portal at the same time, game over. Even if it's like, hey, I found them, cause a distraction, get them all confused and riled up, right? I imagine, if Marvelous did something in the middle of the crowd and it's just like, oh, there's action. Who are these people? And they maybe try to run out the door. in I was gonna say Marvelous. And Hopebreaker has a portal, Doctor Strange style, right? Talking about Marvel rivals, right outside the area, and they all fall into the portal to fight against the Hopebreaker army. Done, neutralized, right? Unfortunately, we tried to attack one or two, three in this case. And unfortunately, I still left the other three to be like, yeah, they didn't check in. That's not like them. Like I said in the post, they all move as a unit. They're not really ever too far apart. Not en masse like that. So unfortunately, once more, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a failed mission, but we'll get them next time, right? So if there's any questions, drop them in here. But that's my verdict. I think again, what we're trying to do on these is not just fisticuffs, not just hey, we're just duking it out and all this other stuff. I want you guys to ask the right questions to figure it out. What can you do with the very limited knowledge? How would you investigate? How is Solid Snake taking out Metal Gear? He doesn't know where it's at. He doesn't have all weapons were OSP in Metal Gear Solid 1. He had to find and figure out where everything was. We didn't know where nothing was. We just knew what needed to be done. And slowly but surely we figured it out along the way. Right. And so I want you guys to ask those questions. We didn't know that Decoy Octopus was the DARPA chief, right? We didn't know anything until the end of the game. Right. And so sometimes the mission doesn't go the way that you want it to. Again, with that lack of information, other sides being played, other people in there. It's Marvelous is still in there. Marvelous is still in there. I mean, technically Hopebreaker's still in there. But Marvelous is really he's really kind of screwed. Because like he said, normal people are getting attacked. Superpowered people are there, but Icarus Metro City is not a safe place, especially not with a bunch of superpowered people all riled up the way that they are. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's the reckoning match. It's done. Unfortunately, we just saw the formation of a massive force in the form of the elementals and the paranormals. Icarus Metro City has been taken over officially by the elementals, and they are going to begin their conquest across the states to try to take over and really cement themselves as the driving power that runs this country and maybe even potentially the world. So, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll have a little small blurb and post probably tomorrow or the day after of the results of this battle so that everybody that couldn't make it can see it. And again, this is a faux kind of, we have a canon verse happening with these matches. So right now, Underground Atlanta has been destroyed by Incendiary. That's gone. We have no word from Solar. We have no word from Aegis. We have no word from Forecast. And right now, as far as we know, Marvelous and Hopebreaker are missing in action as well. So 5 of our heroes are missing in action. We don't know what's going on. They are, we're not in a good way right now. And with our strongest heroes nowhere to be found, what hope does this world have, this amalgam verse have? So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely visit indiebreakdown.com. Check out the database. Stay tuned here for more Nexus and Reckoning battles. Nexus battles are on Wednesday. Reckoning battles are on Saturday. And please, if you're a part of the matchups, when you guys put yourselves on the polls and stuff like that, be ready to converse. Be ready to ask questions where you can. The villain is only going to divulge so much information. Give an example for last week before we close out. Solar had the ability to see things on a molecular scale. So hypothetically, he would have been able to see the bombs that those people were packing. So that would have gone into account in the verdict. However, he can't fly at Mach 1 without hurting those people in the area, right? The best thing he could have did was let his teammates know. He didn't let his teammates know. So unfortunately, nobody knew about the rest of the bombs in the area. And that's why Incendiary won. Because Aegis came and locked him up, right? And held him down with the electricity, with the Zeus's lightning. But he had hundreds of followers that were ready to blow themselves up for Incendiary. They were watching. They were amongst the crowd. And they didn't know because Solar didn't say anything. So very similar situation here. Very similar situation. Pantheon is oh man, he lives in Atlanta. Well, yeah, fair enough. But right now we haven't touched on any of the superpowered characters. I'm still playing Fast and Loose with one of our events way back last March, where we did a March Madness event where it was a tournament. And we said in our canon verse, if you would, that all of the strongest heroes, those tier zeros, those tier ones, twos, all the way up until maybe even tier 4, right, were off world. Soul's gone, Acolyte's gone. Pantheon is hypothetically off world in this massive battle and matchup. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. So they're not there. We have these other lower tier characters so we can have some more nuance and stuff in the battle. But be on the lookout because Pantheon, some of the other characters are going to be there soon. Of course, we did a Pantheon versus Sir Absolute matchup. But anyway, more on our little canon in universe situation soon. But thank you guys once more for tuning in. And thank you for joining us as we redefine power scaling in the Indieverse. Definitely, if you have a character in the database, check it out. Make sure I don't have any typos and make sure I describe them accurately and have those powers and stuff right. The power stat sheet has been updated. The power stat sheet is still being updated. The tier list has been updated. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And remember, until next time, midnight is coming.
Bitch, I'm